In this brief video, I guarantee you will not only learn something about It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia as a show, but you will learn something about each of the cast members as well. Like how Mac only weighed 87 pounds in high school, or how every member of the gang met each other. One thing I personally learned during the research for this video is that Green Man was an idea that was had by Rob McElhenney.
Yeah, a friend of mine who's an orthopedic surgeon in Philadelphia. One day I went to a Monday Night Football game, and he's talking to me, drinking a Budweiser, and like putting on this very tight green lycra suit. And he's like, hold on one second. Zips up and just running around, and everyone's going, Green Man, hey Green Man, hey Green Man. And I was like, the next day I got on a plane, I came back, I was like, okay, there's a Green Man now.
Alright, now back to the show. Our tale follows the exploits of the gang, a group of self-absorbed friends who run an Irish bar, Paddy's Pub, in South Philadelphia. The gang consists of 5 characters: Dennis, Charlie, Frank, Mac, and Dee. It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia is one of the most, if not the most, successful network comedy shows ever. This could be attributed to the cast themselves. One of the keys to Sunny's success is how much creative control the cast has, with 3 out of 5 of the gang being actors, writers, and executive producers on the show. They are always there to write dialogue, oversee the production quality, not to mention even improvise scenes on occasion. Also, not a single member of the cast has ever missed a day of work, even through all their separate projects, injuries, and childbirths. This dedication has led to an amazing show that, in my opinion, even after 14 seasons, doesn't waver in quality even slightly. In this video, I'll focus on the show as a whole and the people we have to thank for the show's existence. Due to the results of a poll I put up that somehow got more votes for Danny Devito than I have subscribers currently, I'll be talking about him first. But first I wanted to take a look at some of the stuff the cast goes through, just for simple scenes. The gang has always put an immense amount of detail into the show, even if it goes unnoticed. 10 seasons ago, in The Gang Solves the Gas Crisis, they hired a professional fire breather to breathe fire over a black tarp, just for a maybe 5-second, 10-second scene. Back to Danny Devito. The gift from God we know as Danny Devito, or Frank the Warthog Reynolds, was born and raised in New Jersey and is of Italian descent. A little known fact about Danny is that after graduating school, he was working as a hairdresser at his sister's salon. When he found out he could make more in cosmetology, he decided to go to school. But when the class he wanted to take was full, he decided to try his hand at Broadway acting. I couldn't imagine a world where this acting and comedy titan was behind the scenes doing hair and makeup, but it was pretty close to being the reality that we live in. Generations of people have grown up watching Danny DeVito steal the show on a number of films. He has had a prominent mainstream career since 1975. Whether it's children's movies like Hercules, or he's playing a gritty fish-munching or cigar-smoking villain, Danny brings a certain one-of-a-kind genuine quality to everything he does. It is amazing to think that Danny is still so vibrant at a whopping 75 years old. The cast of It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia say he is always full of energy, hardly ever sleeps, and is always a good sport during the filming process. At first the cast worried that Danny, being a large name in the industry, would dominate the show and possibly have a poor attitude or even make unwanted changes. The gang soon realized that they are the executive producers and they write the show. And if they couldn't make Danny DeVito funny, then they weren't very good at their jobs. I'm going to move on to Charlie Day, the actor who plays Charlie Kelly, also known as the Dirt Grub. Something I didn't know before researching for this video is that Charlie, the actor who plays Rickety Cricket, and both McPoyles have known each other for years and even used to make videos together while living in New York in their younger years, long before Glenn, Rob, and Charlie were even friends. These videos were later shown to Mac and Dennis, inspiring them to make videos of their own. The first of which being a Haley Joel Osment mockumentary. I'll let Glenn Howerton tell you about it.
This is kind of funny. We don't usually tell this story, so this could be interesting. But we shot this mockumentary kind of a thing about, because everybody used to joke that Rob looked like Haley Joel Osment.
I can see that.
So we shot this thing where he played Haley Joel Osment in his 20s,
Yeah.
Years later, and
Yeah.
Charlie played Frankie Muniz years later,
Right.
and they were living in a shitty apartment together, and, they were both totally fucked up on drugs, trying to get their lives together, and I played their acting teacher, this really eccentric acting teacher, and we shot this little mockumentary thing.
Yeah.
It was fun. We had a good time. It was fun, whatever.
Charlie and his wife, known on the show as the Waitress, met on the set of Reno 911, where they played incestuous twins. So that's pretty gnar. Charlie and Glenn got along quick because they both considered themselves theater geeks, with Glenn going to Juilliard and Charlie acting in plays at the Williamstown Theater in his early years. A fan favorite, Rock Flag and Eagle, was actually improvised by Charlie after subconsciously regurgitating a truck commercial.
Together. So originally it was like a song about like, I got dual, double, lock and double anti-steering brakes, rock, flag, and eagle. So I like when we were shooting it, sometimes I'd completely forgotten about it, and it kind of seeped back into my head and came out my mouth. Rock, flag, and eagle.
Cast notes that Charlie has a strange ability to create hilarious comedy music at the drop of a hat, with Glenn relating it to sort of freestyle rapping, but with piano-style music. Glenn and Charlie met because they had the same agent, and found out when Glenn got a call in which he had received a role for an audition that they both tested for. As Charlie met Mac while they were both testing for a role on a horror movie that never got made, called Mather House. Unfortunately for now, that is all I have on Charlie Day. He has been in a load of films. He's obviously very successful. So next I'm going to move on to the Golden God. Glenn Franklin Howerton was born in Japan. By the time he was 10, he had lived in Korea, London, and then moved to Montgomery, Alabama. Glenn says all the clothes he had were old, out-of-style Korean knockoffs. His father, Glenn Franklin Howerton Jr., was a decorated war veteran and a fighter pilot. His grandfather was a fighter pilot as well, and flew B-52 bombers in World War II. He was also a jazz musician, and his wife, Glenn's grandmother, was a dancer. Although his family come from a military background, they were very supportive of Glenn's career choice. His father even has a favorite episode, and it's The Gang Cracks the Liberty Bell. Glenn's first job was at a Chick-fil-A restaurant. When he got tired of that, he took a job at a Mitsubishi factory cleaning parts. He wanted to make a bit more money than he was getting at the Mitsubishi factory, and soon saw an advertisement for jobs selling meat. So for a short time, Glenn Howerton III would travel around in a refrigerated truck knocking on doors trying to sell meat. Glenn was originally signed up for classes in Autumn, Alabama to become an aeronautical engineer. He received a full-ride theater scholarship to a school in Miami, and after thinking it over, Glenn figured he could always become an engineer later in life and decided to take the scholarship and try out the theater program. One simple change and we would be short one of our valuable cast members. Sometime after taking the scholarship, Glenn was coaching basketball at a Jewish summer camp called French Woods in New York. He got back into theater acting when they had him help direct a children's play. No one in the cast comes from a writing background. In fact, Glenn had never written anything before the first episode of It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. As with most of the cast, Glenn has a wife and children. He had his own show recently. It's AP Bio. Alright, next we're going to move on to Rob McElhenney, also known as Mac, Ronald McDonald, and Ronnie the Rat. His is a bit longer because he is sort of the heart of the show. I mean, I will say that the show wouldn't be the same without any of the cast members, but Rob is truly the driving force of the show, or has always been the driving force of the show. Rob was born in 1977, and his birthday is April 14th. Rob says he hit puberty late in life, and in his freshman year he only weighed 80 pounds. Rob went to college at Fordham University in New York City. Well, not really. He kind of just acquired somebody's meal ticket and slept in the dorms for around 8 months. He did attend classes that seemed interesting, and eventually even auditioned for a play. He got the role, but inevitably he was caught for basically being a stowaway. So he left. While Rob was trying to make it as an actor, he was in several commercials. He was cut from several movies as well, large films including The Devil's Own and Wonder Boys. Rob also worked in several bars. When he wanted to read for different material because he was getting cut from all these films, his agent told him he should write. He wrote his first script and optioned it. Over a year later, the script was butchered and the studio passed. Rob claims he was miserable by the end of his time in New York. He was drinking a lot and doing a ton of drugs. One night in 2001, in a coke-fueled haze, he and his roommate left everyone in their building goodbye notes and set out west. After a lot of driving, the effects had faded and the two turned around. When they showed back up to their home, the people in the building whom they had left the goodbye notes to were understanding of their return, with Rob saying they were at a strange place in their lives as well. In Manhattan, illicit substances were easy to come by, and dealers would come to you. One night, he and a friend were coming down, and they called a dealer. When he showed up, Rob realized it was 9 a.m. So, in 2002, he moved to Los Angeles with fellow actor Christopher Backus. He claims it was to distance himself from an ex-girlfriend. Within 6 months of being there, the two go to some sort of Hollywood soiree, and Chris meets his future wife. As some of you may know, until recently, I lived in a shed. Rob claims that the original pilot came out of desperation, and that he had been working as a waiter and lived in a shed as well. However, Charlie contradicts this statement.
Rob didn't live in a garage, by the way. I think that's, he lived in, he lived in the back house of a house.
With Chris being gone, Rob started spending a lot more time with Charlie and Glenn. When he had written the script that would eventually be adapted into the original It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia pilot, he had decided to have Charlie and Dennis help him out by reading it as characters in his script. When it ended up sounding pretty funny, he convinced them to film it. Originally, the show was going to center around actors in LA. The gang not only filmed one pilot, they filmed another one just to prove they could repeat the humor and pace of the other one. They received a lot of offers, but every network wanted to make changes to the show and bring in their own staff to direct and even write the show. FX said they could do what they wanted, but they would not make another show about actors in LA. Rob suggested they center the show in Philly and made them owners of a bar so that they would have lots of free time during the day to get into trouble. The first season didn't have very good ratings. Charlie claims this was due to a poor time spot, but one very important person was watching the show, and that was Danny Devito, or at least Danny DeVito's children. When FX suggested Danny DeVito, the gang were originally hesitant to have Danny come on the show. Thank God that didn't last. Alright, so Rob has a new show on the way as well. It's called Mythic Quest. It's eventually going to premiere on Apple TV. So last, but certainly not gay, we're going to be talking about, in many people's opinion, including my own, the funniest woman on television, Kaitlin Olson, known on the show as Deandra Reynolds, or Sweet D, or the Aluminum Monster. And this one's going to be pretty brief. At first, Rob didn't want Kaitlin to play D, but Dennis thought she was the best who auditioned for the role, and everyone agreed. Originally, Sweet D was going to be played by Rob's ex-girlfriend. Kaitlin Olson grew up in Portland, Oregon, and went to U of O. I don't have a large section here on Sweet D, but I will say that, in my opinion, the show is very lucky to have her. She is a valuable asset of the show, and she just looks like a bird. After the cast has pumped out 14 seasons, I'm still just as happy with the show as I was in the beginning, and that is pretty rare. I hope we get a 15th season, but if not, I'm grateful these maniacs gifted us with the show in the first place. I hope Danny lives to like 1,000 and starts aging backwards until he looks like some sort of weird baby Yoda thing, and then just starts growing again back into Danny DeVito to repeat the cycle, hence more, because the world needs him. And I'm looking forward to projects from the gang in the future. I will be making more videos about It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, so if you enjoyed this one, stay tuned.
Anyway, to make something and then show it to people, and then you're gonna make your next thing, and people will love it and hate it, but you just have to keep making things.
Yeah? Yeah, we didn't really, she had a boyfriend at the time, and, yeah. And then, it's like the greatest woman I could ever, to me, she's the funniest woman working in show business. I mean, it's
nice that you respect her.
Oh yeah, I respect her. I love her. I mean, as a comedic actress, I think she's like brilliant. Like, maybe the funniest person on TV. But as a mom, she's like the greatest mother I could ever imagine. Everybody should have a mother like Kaitlin.
Oh, that's so fucking sweet.
Yeah, man.
You're living it.
I'm living it.
That's hot. That's hot.